Hi, and welcome back to Chef Hacker Kitchen. I'm going to introduce you to Chef Dave here, who's going to be our guest chef for today. When I was a child, my mom used to make a dish called escarole beans, which she always referred to as scutole and beans, with a kind of a good-natured Italian accent. And I loved that dish. Then when I started to come up to north central Pennsylvania, I noticed that a lot of the restaurants had a dish on their menu called greens and beans. I was surprised to find that that dish is very different than the one I remember from my childhood. Not that it was any better or worse, it was just different. And as you know, that is the magic of regional cooking and also of chef hacking. I always thought that I would like to try and duplicate that recipe, but before I could get around to doing that, Dave mentioned to me that he had actually done that. So today I'm going to act as sous chef, and Dave is going to tell you a little bit about greens and beans, and then we're going to show you how to make it.
So the history of greens and beans basically came from South Italy. And when the when the immigrants came over, they moved to Pittsburgh to work into the steel factories, and basically would make that recipe for their families. It was a cheap version. And it's funny because everybody has a certain recipe with greens and beans, and they always say that they have the right recipe or the other people have the right recipe, but I think the best recipe is the one that tastes the best.
That's right, the one you get used to. The pizza principle in action. Italian peasant food. This is going to be great, so please keep watching.
Okay, for your ingredients for greens and beans, you're going to need 2 heads of escarole, 1 can of cannellini beans, 20 ounces of chicken broth or chicken stock, about 1/4 cup of Parmesan cheese, about 1/4 cup of olive oil, a whole onion, a whole bulb of garlic, about 1 tablespoon of salt to start, and red pepper chili flakes to taste. Okay, so basically the first step with this is we've got to get the escarole trimmed. It's a pretty easy step. Basically what we do is you find the bottom and you come up about 1/2 inch, grasp the escarole so you can get it all together as one bunch, and you're going to remove that bottom piece. You don't want to come too high because you definitely want to keep a lot of the white part for, that's where that texture is, that crunch is. So try and keep it together as best you can and go cut it in about 1-inch pieces, which will be about bite size by the time it cooks down. So what we're going to do now is once it's all cut up, we're going to put it in the water and we're going to basically just rinse it. Sometimes there's a lot of grit still left on there from the growing fields that we've got to get rid of.
All right.
What we're going to do is reach in and just give it a good thorough rinse. Separate the leaves as best you can. Get the water to run through them.
You're just really trying to get the sand out of there, right?
Correct, yeah. If you don't rinse it, you're going to have a lot of crunchy bites when you go to eat it in the very end. So removing as much as you can. Most of the time I get it all out. It usually just will fall out for the most part.
All right.
Then we're going to take the escarole, give it a shake, into a basket. Okay, the next step in the process is basically I'm going to peel a whole bulb of garlic, and while I'm going to go and peel this bulb, you're going to slice this onion. You're going to take and you're going to slice both ends of it off. You're going to slice it right down the middle, and you're going to turn it in half, and then we're going to get nice strips of the against the grain. You're going to cut the onion against the grain.
Okay.
The hardest parts, and probably one of the most tedious parts, is getting the garlic cloves out of the bulb. So just a little patience comes into play here. I like to take all the cloves and just get rid of the tips on both ends, just to make it a little easier for me to peel them. Okay, some of these bulbs are really big, or the cloves are really big, so what I like to do is I like to take them, and this one I'll actually even cut into a couple smaller pieces to get that nice flat edge on there. helps it saute the garlic later on. We're going to grab a boiling pot. I'm going to fill it with water. About halfway up. We have to boil the escarole to get rid of the bitterness. 3 to 5 minutes should be a sufficient time to remove that. That's good. We're going to add a little bit of salt to our water, and we're going to get this to a nice rolling boil. While we're waiting for our water to boil to rinse our escarole, this is a perfect time to rinse our beans. So we're going to take our colander, put it in the sink, take our 1 can of cannellini beans, pour them in. We're going to let the water run just lightly. We don't want the pressure of the water to actually crush the beans. We're going to give the beans a little bit of a flip. That should be good. Now that our water is boiling, we're going to take our escarole, and we're going to take it over here to blanch it. Be careful to remove our lid. Now you may have to do this in batches if you have too much escarole. Add it to the boiling water. You're going to blanch this for 3 to 5 minutes, no more than 5. If you go more than 5, you're going to have really wilted escarole, and you want to keep it nice and crunchy. So about 3 to 5, and just constantly watch it. And you can put the lid back on at this point. Once our escarole's been boiling for about 3 to 5 minutes, we're going to have to drain it. Remove the lid.
It doesn't take long, does it?
No, it doesn't take long, and you don't want to cook it really long because you'll get mushy escarole.
I don't want that.
We take our escarole to the sink and pour it in just our strainer.
Now we're ready to start the garlic, are we?
We are! My favorite part. Once we're done draining our escarole, it's time to move on to sauteing our garlic. So we're going to take our nice deep pan, put it on our burner. We're going to add our about 1/4 cup or so of olive oil.
All right. I can almost smell it even before you start cooking this.
You can. And then we're going to add our whole bulb of garlic. Spread it out nice and even through that oil. This is key. We can't turn the burner on real high, so we're going to light our burner and we're going to turn it way down to low. And we're going to let this cook, and we're going to constantly have to watch it so that we're not burning our garlic. If we burn the garlic, you'll ruin the whole thing and have to start over.
Are we looking for color on this garlic, or is it just trying to cook it through?
We are looking for color. So after about 5 minutes of cooking on low, you're going to start to see one side of the garlic start to brown. That's great. It's a great key for you to flip the garlic over and cook it until you start seeing that side brown as well. Okay, so as you can see, our garlic is pretty much a perfect color.
Yeah, that looks really good.
Nice and brown, a little crisp to it probably on those edges. And the next step, what we want to do is we want to take just a potato masher, and we want to mash up the onion. I'm sorry, the garlic.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And basically, what this is going to taste like then is it's going to taste like just like a roasted garlic bulb that you would do in the oven.
It's really going to infuse the flavor into the dish.
It will, and it's going to be a nice sweet flavor. It's not going to be a real overpowering garlic flavor, but you're going to have a very good sweet garlic. Thank you. And you can do this a couple times to mash this up, get it off it, clean it a couple times, get it as pulpy, I guess, as you want. I'll go one more time with it.
Yeah. I think I'm going to want to lick that spoon when you're done with it.
Well, you be my guest. And that looks perfect. You almost could probably just spread that on Italian bread. And
Yeah, you know it.
Okay. I'll hand that to you.
All right.
I'll hand that back to you.
Yep.
And we'll just keep that spread out there in the oil.
And now?
And now the next step is we're going to add our onion, and we're going to add our beans, and our broth, and we're going to bring that to a boil.
I sense we're almost ready to eat.
We're close.
Okay, let's keep going.
All right. So we're going to add our onion. I killed my heat here because I didn't want the garlic to burn. Thank you. Almost instantaneously when you add the onions to this, you get another aromatic flavor smell coming through the kitchen.
Wonderful.
We're going to move the onion all around. Turn the heat up just a little bit. And we're going to let that cook for just a couple seconds so we can smell it. And then we're going to add our beans.
Let me know when you're ready.
I can smell it, so we can add our beans.
All right, there you are.
Our beans. And the last step that we're going to need, last thing we're going to need is we're going to need our chicken stock. We're going to add our chicken stock to it. You can eyeball this if you want to. You might not want to add all of it. You don't want to fill the pan with it because you're going to boil this off a little bit to get a little bit more concentrated flavor of the chicken stock. So
all right.
That looks pretty good. We're going to turn our heat up. Bring this to a rolling boil. Okay. So this is really good. It's a nice, kind of looking like a little bit more syrupy than it was before with just the chicken stock. So we're ready for our escarole.
All right, add it to that thick, rich broth you have there, huh?
Absolutely. The colors are great. Green. I'm going to turn our heat down. Once we have our escarole in, you're gonna basically take all the beans and the onions and garlic. You're going to roll it around, get it evenly spaced, and we're going to add two last ingredients. I'll go with the salt first. This is obviously to taste, so I'm going to spread it throughout. I think we started with maybe a couple tablespoons, but I'm not going to use all of it. And the final ingredient is the Parmesan cheese. And again, you can add more of this if you want at the end. I'm a cheese guy, so we're going to add all that in there. And we're going to roll that around as well. And by the time that melts, we're going to have a nice, almost like a soup at the bottom, a nice thick sauce. You can see that at the bottom.
If we wanted to add the red pepper flakes, when would we do that?
So a couple options with the red pepper flakes are you can add it in the beginning and saute that a little bit with the garlic for people who like it spicy, but I find that I like it best at the very end individually at the table. That way I can add more cheese if I want, more salt, or the crushed red pepper to give it a little more spice.
All right.
So, and I think we have a completed product here.
All right. Well, it looks great. Let's plate it out and get going with it.
I can't wait. Well, we're all done, and we are going to serve this up.
Okay, so this looks terrific. I mean, I'm going to put a few pepper flakes on mine, and we're going to have it with some nice crusty bread and really enjoy it. So let's thank Dave for teaching us how to do greens and beans, North Central Pennsylvania style.
You're welcome. This was great. I can't wait to dig in.
Well done.